Today on the Rock and Metal Faith Podcast, we talked to Tony from Revelation Signal, a great up-and-coming Christian artist, definitely rocks, worth checking out.
And you guys got to know that Revelation rocks. You guys have to check it out.
What was that? All right, welcome back to the podcast. No, it didn't.
The recordings, it just told me it stopped.
No. We're live. We're on the air. We're not live.
We're live.
We're recording. Welcome back to the Rock and Metal Faith Podcast.
Welcome
we
back.
Seem to have a few technical snags, I guess, every time we start up. But, we just finished a great interview with Tony from the band Revelation Signal. That is coming up. We're going to air that right after we get to our usual business. How are you today, Kris?
I am good. How are you, man?
I'm good.
What an interview that was. Wow.
And, oh, yes. So before we get to that interview, we'll do our usual news and birthdays. Okay, in the news. Oz Fox from Stryper seems to have recovered from his surgery. He's been practicing, and he hopes to rejoin Stryper in time for their 50th anniversary tour and stuff. He's not a for sure thing, but he's looking positive that he can do so.
Wow. So continue to pray for Oz?
Yes. And, we did a couple episodes about Immortal Fest, weekend 1. We're now into September. Weekend 2 has come and gone, and we talked about that. And there's a lot of videos surfacing from the band's sets. Have you checked any of those videos out?
From which band?
From Immortal Fest. Like Shout's got videos out there. Bride's got videos out there. There's a few others. And they're out there on Facebook.
I put some.
YouTube, yeah. Sounds great. Actually, I haven't heard the whole Bride set.
I like the Deliverance set. Wow, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was weekend 1, I think it was. But have you heard anything from the weekend 2?
I thought I put up the Tourniquet set. Was that night 2?
Again, yeah, that's weekend 1, I think. Anyways.
I don't think I've seen anybody post anything from
I know there's one from Ken Champlin and Shout. There might be some White Cross videos surfacing.
Oh, White Cross. Well, White Cross is everywhere.
And
I'm seeing on my feed everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's good.
And I've seen videos from Dale Thompson, their recent songs from Bride. You know what? From the few videos I've seen of his, he sounded great at Immortal Fest. I wish I could have been there, I tell you that. Also, he says that they're actually going to release the entire set that they did at Immortal Fest. I think it's going to be available to buy off of their website, bridepub.com. He said, was Troy, his brother that plays guitar there, recorded the whole set, and they're just working on putting it out there. And that's about it for news, and then we move on to birthdays. We got some really old classic artists having birthdays this month. September 3rd actually is a busy day. Yeah, we have John DeGroff from Petra, born 1953. John DeGroff was the original bassist for Petra. Was with the band from 72 to 79.
Wow. There's the balloons. That's awesome.
Did you do that?
I saw that, yeah.
No, did you do that? Who did that? No. Must be AI. Must be AI doing it or something. I don't know. Also born September 3rd, Doug Pinnock of King's X, who does bass and vocals, born 1950. Doug Pinnock. King's X is one of those bands. They're a trio band. I like to say they sound like so-and-so or so-and-so but I can't because King's X has their own sound that came out in the 80s. Don't have the typical 80s sound. And when you try and find out who does the vocals, it says the entire band does the vocals.
Oh,
Yeah. So whether they do them all at once and blend them together, whether each member takes a different song, I'm not, I'm a casual King's X fan. I like some of their stuff, but I'm not that engrossed into King's X that I know every trivial detail about them type of thing. One more for September 3rd is Easy Gomer, who was with the band Leviticus and then went on to form Jet Circus. He was born in 1962. He's a Swedish guy, does vocals, but definitely for Jet Circus, he did the bass anyways. I don't know if he sang in Leviticus. And I got to mention this one. September 4th, we have September 4th, we have the heavy metal artist out of LA turned Christian, Blackie Lawless, from the band Wasp. Now, we talked about Wasp on the episode about Christians in non-Christian bands. Blackie wasn't always a Christian, but in later years, he's become one. September 17th, we have Ty Tabor, also of King's X, born in 1961. He does the guitars for King's X. So 2 out of 3 members of King's X have birthdays in September.
Wow.
And September 20th, Bruce Swift of Sacred Warrior. He's the guitarist for Sacred Warrior, born in 1965. And then we got 3 Petra birthdays coming up. September 22, Greg Howe, who was a founding guitarist with Bob Hartman for Petra.
That must be a sign right there.
He was with the band until about 1979. Howe was born in 1949. September 22nd, 1949 for Greg Howe. And then a recent Petra member, Kevin Brando, born September 20. I don't have a year for him, but he played guitar for Petra from 1996 to 1999. And then on September 28th, born 1953, we have the man, the voice, John Slick. So that's it for birthdays for September. We're going to cover all of September because I know the following episode after this, we've already recorded. It's a full-length episode. We don't have time for news and birthdays. So that's it. We're going to move on now to our Plug It In segment. Time to plug it in and turn it up. For our Plug It In segment, we're going to focus actually on the band that we're talking to today. We talked to Tony from Revelation Signal. We're going to feature one of their songs on our Plug It In segment. This is we actually talked about this during the interview, how I like the change in tempos, the change in rhythms throughout the song. This is called Decide.
What are we doing now? We're running to fight, time for you to decide. because we stand for the truth. What are we doing now? We're running to find time for you to decide. You need to make your move. Where are we going? Are we willing to fight? Ready to lay down our lives because we stand for the truth. What are we doing now? We're running to find time for you to decide. You need to make your move.
About to Decide by the band Revelation Signal. Coming up is our interview with Tony from the band. Welcome to the program now. We have Tony from Revelation Signal. How you doing, Tony?
Hey, what's up, guys? Doing great.
Good, yeah. So you got in touch with us saying you'd like to be on the program. We checked out your music. You got some really good stuff out there. So I'm actually
Awesome, thank you.
enjoying checking it out and stuff. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you first get into playing music?
All right, well, when I was about 7 years old, my mom bought me a guitar and put it in my hands and told me I was going to be a rock star. So basically, everything after that is her fault.
Wow, that is a great movie.
Wow. That's good parenting right there.
Yeah. Now I don't remember that. I was too young, and I didn't seriously start playing until I was about 14 years old, where my stepdad started teaching me guitar. So it's his fault too. So, but I was into bands like Alice in Chains. When I was much younger, I was into Bon Jovi. You know, I was always into music, and that just kind of really inspired me to want to play.
Great. Yeah. Well, we got a couple of Bon Jovi fans here as well. So.
Okay.
Oh yeah, totally. You're in good company.
And yeah, reading your bio there, you said you were playing in a Nirvana tribute band first. Was that your first band?
That was not my first band. That was kind of what I did after I discovered how hard it was to make a living on your own music. And so I decided that around 2012 that I was going to put a tribute band together for more of a business-minded reason to do that, and also to have fun and play music. And so I did that for about 9 years. And after that, I transitioned into what I'm doing now, which is Revelation Signal. And there's kind of a little bit of a story on how that transition happened. But that's basically, I mean, there's a lot of history in those few sentences I just told you, but that's
Right.
how it happened. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we can get into your story. So part of that transition there, what led you to Christ, or when did you first hear Jesus' call to come to faith type of thing?
Okay. Well, thanks for asking that. So I've always kind of believed in God since I was a child, but it wasn't until about 14 or 15 years old that I was going to a Wesleyan church youth group, and they really kind of explained to me what it means to put your faith in Jesus and to be born again and to be saved. And so that was when I placed my faith in Jesus. I believe I was 14, just turning 15. And at that point is when I kind of knew, okay, it's time to read the Bible and to learn about God. And it's a lifelong journey for anyone who's, part of the Christian faith. They know that it's a lifelong journey. It's not just, for many of us, it's not just an instantaneous, I now know everything,
Yeah.
So it's been a long road since then. And I was listening to mostly secular music during that time. I tried to discover Christian bands. Couldn't really find any that I was into, except for POD. So POD,
Wow.
yeah, the Fundamental Elements of Southtown. I think that album was 1999, and I was like,
Yeah.
finally, a Christian band that I can dig. So, yeah. So, what was the question again? I kind of got sidetracked. Did that answer?
That's all right.
Yeah.
That you could do that all. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem here. On this podcast, we love talking about Christian music, Christian rock and roll, and people coming to faith, put it that way.
Yeah.
Chris and I are both fans of secular as well as Christian music type of thing too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Part of our story is I was raised in a Christian home or a church going home, put it that way type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was around the faith all the time, but always listened to secular music as well, type of thing like this. And then slowly discovered Christian bands. That would have been, I guess, about the mid '80s when I discovered some of the Christian bands out there doing that whole '80s scene.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit about us. More
Yeah,
about
I've
you.
listened to a few of your podcasts, so I really enjoy them.
Oh, good, good.
Well, thank you. You can tell everybody about them. We don't mind.
I will. You
Okay.
guys, you
By the
guys
way,
stand out.
where are you?
I'm in Houston,
Where are
Texas.
you? Where? Okay.
Yep.
Have you grown up there all your life, or
No, I
born and
moved
raised?
here. So you know what they say about Texas? I wasn't born here, but I got here as fast as I could.
All right. Good.
Yeah, so I moved here when I was 22, so about 20 years ago.
Okay. Well, Texas has a great music scene. How is it down there musically?
Hmm.
So I haven't spent a whole lot of time in Austin, but I know a lot of people say, "Hey, you gotta move to Austin." Houston is interesting because the city is so spread out. So we don't have like Austin has Sixth Street. You know, we don't have a version of Sixth Street really in Houston. I mean, we kind of had some areas that would kind of pop up once in a while, but then disappear. But usually, when I was playing out a lot, people couldn't just go from one venue to the next without hopping in their car and driving. So they couldn't just walk up and down and check out different venues. So it's very spread out in that aspect. Now, in the mid 2000s, I had a metal band here called Deafening, and the scene was we kind of we're part of this scene, local metal scene, and it was thriving. Well, for us, it felt like it was thriving anyway. And there were some big venues to play, like Fitzgerald's, the Engine Room, Scout Bar. Those are kind of the big three for like the semi-national and big local acts, stuff like that. And so the scene was pretty good. And then kind of in the mid 2010s, I guess, a tribute scene just kind of exploded. And it just so happened that my Nirvana tribute was very active at that time. So we were playing places like House of Blues and some bigger venues in Houston. And even now, the tribute scene is alive and well. I've checked in with some of my past associates and friends, and they're saying the tribute scene is still booming if I wanted to be a part of that. And in Dallas, we would play shows in Dallas as well. And we played out of state. But here in Texas, it seemed like the tribute scene is thriving. As far as the original metal scene locally, I haven't really been part of that, so I can't comment too much on what's happening there right now.
So is that mainly where you have a lot of shows with Revelation Signal out of there, or are you everywhere?
So Revelation Signal is a solo project right now. And it was kind of my idea of, hey, I'm going to write songs like this and I'm going to record them and see what happens and see if there's kind of a demand for them. See if people like these songs, if these resonate with people. And if so, I'll put a band together. And because putting a band together, as many people know, is a lot of hard work and a lot of energy for very little
Praise.
financial reward, and as a family man now, it's not as easy to kind of get that up and going as it would have been in my 20s, to play shows
So
all
you
the
did
time.
you did everything, like the drums, the mixing, everything.
No, I did not actually perform the drums, but I did hire someone to perform the drums. His name is Jake
The
Hayden.
drums are awesome, especially in Mission.
Oh,
Wow.
cool. Thanks so much. Yeah,
The opening I liked. I liked the drums in that Mission song.
thanks so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, my producer and I, we had some conversations around how we were going to go about the drums because a lot of people just program their drums nowadays. But I wanted the
Yep.
real drum feel, and you
Hmm.
can't replicate that perfectly. And so we got a guy named Jake Hayden who plays in a band called Dorothy, and he has an excellent studio out in Los Angeles. And he did my songs within a matter of like a week. He was super professional, and
Wow.
yeah. So my main instrument is guitar and vocals, and so I did the majority of the guitars and a lot of the vocals, and I brought on some people to do backup vocals because I wanted people to hear multiple different voices on this, not just my voice. And since you
It
guys,
really has
yeah.
two singles I have. They really do sound like POD. Is that intentional?
No, it wasn't intentional.
No?
I
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've been influenced by a lot of bands, Alice in Chains, Deftones, Soundgarden, People in Planes. I don't know how many to list here, but I sent Decide to somebody, and he's like, "Wow, this really sounds like Skillet." Especially because it has the male vocal and the female vocal, and I'm like, "You're right, it
I can
does
see
kind of
that.
sound like Skillet." So
Don't say that. Don't say that.
It's all good. It's all good. Actually, I like that song, Decide. And it's a great song where it kind of transitions from tempos to that halftime feel. And it's got a lot of
yeah.
variations in it instead of just straightforward, all out, which I like too sometimes. But I do like variety within the songs and stuff like that. So it is a very well put together song.
Thank you.
So what inspired you to write Rise?
Okay, so Rise. Well, can I back up a little bit and tell you a
Yes.
little bit about what
Sure.
inspired me to do the whole project?
Sounds good.
Well,
It's your interview.
okay. All right, I appreciate it, guys. So when I was singing in the Nirvana tribute band, I was playing for the biggest crowds I'd ever played before. And I was singing a lot of Kurt Cobain's lyrics. So if you guys are familiar with Nirvana and Kurt Cobain's lyrics, some of them don't make sense. Some of them are, weird. And so there's a song called Rape Me, right? And so I would be screaming,
Right.
I'd be screaming, rape me from the stage. And people are screaming back, rape me, And that's not what I want people to be singing. I don't want to be people singing. And I understand Kurt meant that metaphorically, okay? But
Yes.
still, I don't want people screaming that back. There's other lines like, I wish I could eat your cancer when you turn black, which is from Heart Shaped Box. Yeah, sure, you can analyze these words and say, oh, well, it means this and that. Regardless of what it means, there was a lot of lines and a lot of words that I was not comfortable singing and being sung back to me. I thought, well, these are either negative or they're void of any real meaning, positive meaning, and especially from a Christian viewpoint, as I want to write songs that uplift people, and not Nirvana isn't necessarily about that. I'm sorry, So I decided I want to write songs that are going to be great phrases to have on people's lips. So stand up as I will stand up and be proud. I will stand up to the crowd. I will stand up and be loud, and I will not be afraid to stand my ground. And then lift your head is directly from the Bible. Lift your head up to the sky, redemption draweth nigh. Lift your head and look alive, Christ will soon arrive. And all those lyrics are about, Luke 21 and those Olivet Discourse passages. And so I wanted songs that would uplift people and that I would like to hear people singing back. Now, Rise in particular. So if you listen to Rise, the beginning, let me hear you say Rise, trying to get the crowd riled up. Let me hear you say now. And then the main line is, I won't bow down to a godless society. Yeah, I won't bow down to a godless society.
Yeah.
And
I was surprised you put such a big word in there at the end of the phrase.
Yeah, and then I think the next one is, I won't back down from a tyrannical majority. Yeah, so that's even a bigger word there. And I wrote that because I want to kind of inspire people to have the courage of, hey, we are not going to subject ourselves to any kind of godless morality out there. So, and it kind of relates to the book of Daniel, where the book of Daniel teaches you how to live in a pagan society. Now, I don't know that I'm in the United States. I don't know that I would say we're a pagan society, but I would say that a lot of our practices are not biblical right now. A lot of our cultural things that are culturally accepted are not biblical. For example, the killing of unborn children. That's the main one right there that I would have to say, boom, that is, you cannot support that as a believer in Christ. So anyhow, so let's go back to the book of Daniel. Now, Daniel would pray to God every day, and he was one of the high-ranking officials. I believe it was King Darius's court at that time. And his other associates were basically jealous and envious of his position in the king's court. And so they set up a trap for him and said, "Oh, king, can you write a decree that says nobody should worship to any god except for you throughout the week for the next 30 days," or whatever the time period was. I'm not exactly sure the time period. And he said, "Oh, yeah, that sounds like a great idea." And so he wrote that decree. And then they purposely caught Daniel praying to God, our God, and yes, so Daniel's like knew it, and he's like, "I'm still going to pray to my God. I'm not going to obey this
Yes,
decree that
the
tells me to
story.
worship something else." And so they told the king this, and the king, well, I think the king liked Daniel, and because he didn't want to punish Daniel, but he had to because he had written that in a decree. So he threw Daniel in the lion's den. He said, "May your God protect you," and I think he meant that sincerely. And so
Yes,
Daniel was in the lion's den, and God did protect him. So the moral of the story is: do not worship any other god. Do not worship anything, even if your government tells you to. Now, in that instance, God did protect Daniel, but in our lives, we have to be prepared to accept whatever the consequences are. I think it was Paul that said, "Whenever we suffer on the account of Christ, count that as a blessing." So
blessing.
so whatever consequences we suffer for the Lord, for Christ, we should count that as a blessing.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's a
Yeah, I
great
hope
story.
Very cool.
that's the main kind of, and if you look at the verses to rise, I've had it with indoctrination taking place of education. Kind of look at
Yeah.
those verses. It kind of shows us what we're going through in our culture today, and that we should stand against that and basically be the salt and the light of the earth, which is what I talk about in mission, in preserving the world from moral decay and from corruption. And I think as Christians here, while we are here, we should be the salt and the light of the earth. So
Have you done a music video for that yet?
I have not. I'm just doing lyric videos now. I don't have the budget or ability to do
Sure.
a big
Yeah,
studio
sure.
video, but hopefully I will be able to in the future.
That would be awesome. I could picture that.
Well, maybe I'll reach out to you and have you write me a little screenplay for it.
Sure.
That might be Chris's department. But yeah, the whole band sounds great. You said you got Jake Hayden on drums, and reading your bio, you had Brandon Maciel, or if I'm
Yep,
not
Brandon Maciel.
Maciel on
He
bass.
he played bass and he killed it, man. He also is the was the recording engineer. His studio is Zombie Penguin Studios, if you want to look them up. And I had originally written some bass lines, but Brandon is a better bass player than me, and I'm like, "All right, Brandon, go for it." He offered to do the bass lines, and man, he killed it. He did an excellent job. I'm very happy with having him on the bass.
How did you find those guys? Just through the local music network, or did you reach out to them and kind of do auditions, or did you know them beforehand?
So most of the people are people I've worked with over the years. So Brandon is someone that I met at School of Rock. We were both instructors there for a period of time. He told me
Okay.
he had a studio, and I stayed in touch with him. Now, the guy who co-produced this and mixed and mastered it, his name is Evan Rodanish. He plays in a band called Cage Nine, and he's got a lot of connections in the industry. And I've stayed in touch with him for nearly 20 years. And Evan is just phenomenal. He's got a phenomenal ear, just excellent musician, excellent songwriter. Look up Cage Nine if you get the opportunity. And he's the one who put me in touch with Jake Hayden, and so he recommended him to me, and I was like, let's do it. Now, the other vocalists I've worked with, they are people that are within my personal kind of circle that I've met over the, since I've been in Houston, people I've stayed in touch with. So
Good, good. The other thing is, I'm a kind of a basement guitarist. So, what kind of guitar do you play?
So I personally like to play a Fender Jag and a
Okay.
Gibson Les Paul. And I started playing the Fender because I was in the Nirvana trivia band. And
I was gonna
uh,
say.
Right.
yeah, it turns out that I had never played it before until that time. and it turns out that I really really love that guitar. So I like to play on that one. I also play on my acoustic a lot, so I play on my Taylor.
Yeah.
How long have you been singing? So Aaron is the guitarist. I'm the singer.
Okay, all right. So in high school, I put together a band, and I was mainly the guitar player, and we brought a singer on board. Now, I used to sing in that band, but people told me that I didn't sing very well.
Yeah, that sucks when you hear that, right?
But I still liked singing, and I just kept singing,
Yeah,
kept singing, kept singing, kept singing. And over the course of the next 3 to 5 years, I really developed my voice. So
your voice.
by the time I was around 20, 24, 25 is when I kind of really hit my stride as a vocalist, and had a really fully developed voice at that point. But to anybody out there who's a singer, I'm just going to tell you, keep singing. You can listen to demos of great singers, early demos,
Yep,
and they may not even sound that good, and so every singer has to start somewhere. They didn't just come out of the womb with this amazing voice. Voice is like a muscle that you got to work out, and you have to develop that voice over years. It's just like anything else you do. If you want to be like a lead singer, you have to develop your voice, and don't get discouraged. Just keep at it. And then
that's right.
there's singers like Kurt Cobain and Bob Dylan who don't have the greatest voices, but people still
But they,
listen to them.
yeah,
People still like them. They speak to people. Willie Nelson. I mean,
he
they don't
he connects.
sing the highest range or anything, but people like them because they have
Yep,
this personal quality about them. So I would say
that's
whatever your voice is, God gave you that voice, and there is people that will resonate with that.
yeah. And you could sing, man.
Oh, thank you so much.
You could do such a great job.
Thank you. I
And
appreciate
it
that.
helps that you've written it yourself, right? So you
Hmm.
already know what you want,
Right.
right?
Yeah, it's a lot easier to sing in your own voice than mimic somebody else's. It's funny because
That's right.
I did the Nirvana tribute for so long that when I started writing my own songs again, my wife was like, "Geez, I forgot what your real voice sounded like. You don't sound anything like Kurt Cobain." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but I had to sing Kurt for so long, but I'm glad I'm not doing that because now I can kind of find my own voice again."
Wow. How did you stay focused on the Lord when you were doing that kind of the Cobain thing? Was it just like a switch or
Okay, so I like that question, and let me answer that talking about the bands I've been in previously, if you don't mind, because I had a lot of history before I did Kurt Cobain. When I was in Deafening, we played a lot of the regular venues, a lot of the bars, live music, and I was always a believer, trying to stay on track. I wasn't always on track, okay, but I was always trying
yeah, that's
to.
all right.
I was reading my Bible. I was trying to, and I'm going to tell you right now that it is very hard to be a lone wolf. Okay, I had very few Christian friends at that time. I did have one or two, and they were very important and good friends to me. And I tried to get involved in churches. I was having a hard time, and it's really difficult to straddle that. You're going to get sucked in somehow,
Yep.
some way. When you tell people, like, I used to drink, but not a lot. I would drink sometimes. And so usually I would say, no, I'm not going to drink. And people would find that weird, oh, why don't you want to drink? And I just don't want to drink, so I didn't smoke or drink. So, but I was still pulled in other ways. I was in and out of relationships. So I still had my priority of God, but it was just very difficult when you really need other people to support you and to be with you on that journey. And I think that's why it's so hard. So to answer your question, how did I focus? Well, I'm a real believer. I really want to do what the Lord has for me. I don't know what that is. I'm constantly trying to figure that out. Okay, I hope I got it right
Yeah,
sometimes.
okay.
You
Yeah,
know,
we all are.
and so when I was doing the Nirvana experience, that was more of a business minded thing, and so it was easy to kind of dip in and dip out. Hey, I'm gonna go play this show, and then I'm gonna come back to my real life. But when I was doing the bands before that, that was all my life. I was trying to make it as a band, so I lived and breathed my band, which was deafening, and so that was different. The Nirvana thing was a little bit easier, and that's when I got married. Was when I was doing the Nirvana tribute, and I kind of became a family man and all that stuff. So at that point, when you become a family man, you really have to consider your family and everything that you do. So I don't want to say it's easier, but you're almost kind of forced to live a more biblical lifestyle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I know
Totally.
for myself there was a time in my life where I was kind of backsliding, wayward Christian or whatever. Still had some seed of faith, but wasn't really walking the walk type of thing. And the same story, you get married and start a family, and you go, maybe I should take my whole faith a little more seriously type of thing. It's not a uncommon story, I'm sure.
Right.
And you were talking about the struggle of being in a band and especially a lone wolf being, that's not an uncommon story either. I know even Christian bands had trouble. One of our favorite bands was Striper there for a period of time there, even though they were in the Christian scene, they were around a lot of the non-Christian bands, and it was easy to start living the same lifestyle that everybody else around them was doing, and they had to step away from it and say, listen, it's time to step away and get serious again type of thing,
Right. Yeah. That's why.
How many albums have you done?
Okay, so with Deafening, we had a full album and then 2 EPs. Those are on Spotify. If you do listen to Deafening, find the album with the dragonfly on the cover, because there are other Deafenings. There's a German punk band called Deafening.
Yes.
There's
I listened to that earlier. I'm like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, and then there's a Deafening with a female singer, so called The Deafening, but we're just Deafening. We're from Houston, Texas. You should probably see my picture pop up there. And then I released a solo project called Tony on Fire. That should be easier to find. It's Tony on Fire. One full album, an EP, a few singles. And I actually recorded a unplugged Nirvana experience. So I've released over, I think I have about 36 songs that I've released.
I saw that Apple Music. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, cool.
You were
I'm
busy.
glad you looked that up. Yeah, and then of course the Revelation Signal is five songs for now. And if people like it and love it and want more, then I'll put out some more songs.
Well, I say put out more songs, man. That is good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've been listening. I think I found 3 of them through
Apple
I found
Music
3 too, or whatever. I actually went and purchased them through Apple, and I
great.
liked what I heard. And do you have any plans, or do you hope that things will work out, that maybe you'll take your music on the road with Revelation Signal, or start doing live shows? I know you said you're just throwing it out there to see response, but do you hope that it would work into a live show sometime?
Oh, absolutely. This is all I know. I mean, I've had, regular jobs just like anyone else, but this has been the one thing that's been consistent throughout my life, is performing and writing music. And hopefully it's what God has called me to do. It's my talent, this is kind of personal, but I don't know, it might've been a year or 2 ago when I just prayed to God and I said, God, I'm just going to give you my talent right now to do whatever you want with it. And it's kind of something it's like when you love somebody, sometimes people just expect them to know it, but they really don't know it unless you tell them that you love them. And so my life previously, it's like I always wanted to use my talent for God, but I didn't really verbalize that until I think a year or 2 ago when I sat down, I prayed, I said, God, my talent is yours. Do whatever you want with it. Now, I'm not saying that these songs that God spoke through me and I heard the word of the Lord and I wrote these songs.
Yes.
These songs are my perspective, my faith, and I hope
That's right.
I hope that the Lord had somehow inspired me to write them, because that's what I want to do. And I've been performing most of my life, so if it turns out that people love these songs and they want to hear them live, I can put a band together lickety split. I know a lot of musicians, so I can put a band together. I could make it happen, so it's not like I don't have a band because I'm not able to, but I could put a band together, make it happen, go play. But so to answer your question, yeah, I would like to see that happen.
So was all the three singles, were they all done music or by computer software?
Okay, so the majority of this, large portion of it is all music, real music playing.
Okay.
Now, we didn't mic any amps, but I played all the guitars, and we went through the studio plugins. I'm not sure what Brandon used. It was on Reaper Studios,
Yeah,
and
that's
so
all right.
we had different sounds that way. But it was all real guitars. Evan, the one who co-produced, he also played some real guitars. Now Evan also put in some samples, like drum samples, to kind of in
Yeah.
some areas. So, but the large part majority was all real instrumentation.
Boy, you sure want your audience to make it feel like that you're in a auditorium and it's huge.
Dude, man, I am so glad you say that, Chris, because that was the impression that I was going for. I'm like, I want this to feel like that we're all in this big auditorium, this arena,
Yeah.
and that everybody is singing with me. So that's why I got like four other vocalists to sing on these
It
songs with me.
You did a great job because that's what I first song was Rise Up. I'm like,
That's awesome, man. I'm so glad to hear that. I really appreciate the encouragement. And just to mention real quick, there's three songs out right now. So what's today? September 7th. So on September 13th, Stand Up will be released. And a lot of people, well, the few people who have actually heard this song have told me that it's the best one of the five. So I'm excited to have Stand Up released on September 13th. And after that, October is going to be Lift Your Head. I also think Lift Your Head is a very accessible song, meaning I think a lot of people can latch on to it. It's much more
have
straightforward.
you have you released any of these singles yet, like to the radio market there
No,
and the
I have,
Christian market? Oh,
next, my
okay.
next step. Well, I actually went to Christian Metal. What is the name of that? There's a website, christianmetal.com. I'm not sure. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Um,
Aaron
not
would know.
not the website. I know there's a lot of Facebook groups out there. A lot of groups on Facebook promoting independent artists and stuff like
Oh, it's
that.
here, let me just check real quick. I think it's christianrock.net.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay,
yeah,
yeah. I know what you're talking
christianrock.net.
about.
Are you
And I
talking about that
ChrisRock.net. Yeah.
I
online
submitted
radio?
a song there, and I have not heard back, and it's been about 2 months. He said, "Hey, he's like, give us some time. It might take us a while, and I don't know how long is it supposed to take, but it's been about 2 months."
It's yeah.
I know
And
there's another one out there called the Blast.fm, which is a Christian internet station.
okay,
And the guys from Human Code, if you don't know them, they're one of these super groups, all musicians from previous bands, and the vocalist is formerly from Barren Cross. The name escapes me for the moment there. I'm getting old, my memory's failing me.
Aaron Shush.
But anyways, I know they just mentioned, was it them or was it Jamie Roll of Calamity Kills? But anyways, one of those guys just mentioned that they're getting their stuff played on the Blast. I know there's about
okay,
3 or 4 internet radio stations, Christian-wise, that are out there type of thing.
the blast.fm.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm saving it right now on my computer so I can check it out.
So, yeah, so they might be worth checking out. Like your stuff is definitely good. You're talking about the other songs that are forthcoming. I'll definitely be keeping my ear open and equally
Yeah,
waiting those.
definitely.
And those new songs are actually that have not been released are on Bandcamp right now. So they are on Bandcamp. If you notice, there's 5 songs on there. They just haven't been released to all streaming services yet. So
Right, okay. So I was probably checking them out last night because you did send me your Bandcamp link.
okay.
What was the other question? Oh, yeah, the other question I had, when you write a song, what comes first, the lyrics or the music, or is it a little bit of mixture?
I love this question because it's different for everybody. And a lot of times for me, it's the music. A lot of times. Not all the time, but a lot of times it's the music. And then after that, a melody. So a vocal melody. And as I'm thinking of the melody, I'll just kind of start singing and see what words come. And then I'll write the words from there. Or I might have some lyrics written out with no melody, just lyrics. and I'll write a song and I'll have a melody and I'll kind of go through my lyrics and I'll see, let's see what lyrics fit in this melody. So I may do it like that. So that's pretty much the process. And I write a lot on the acoustic guitar. Even if it's a heavy song, I'll write on the acoustic guitar. I just love being able to take the acoustic guitar anywhere I go. I don't have to plug it in or anything like that.
Have you always liked the heavy music?
I would say so. I've never got too metal. Never went down that path, like real dark, heavy. Speed metal. I don't know what you call it. But
Okay, like Disturbed.
Disturbed's got some good stuff. I did listen to Disturbed for a while, but let's say Alice in Chains. At the time when they came out, some people consider them metal, and then they got turned, considered grunge.
Yeah.
Deftones is like an alternative metal type band. I listened to System of a Down for a while, so kind of I guess people call it new metal. I was into that for a little while. But I find that, a lot of metal is kind of too much for me, and I don't know if it's because I'm old now.
I know what you're saying.
But
I know what you're saying.
All the screaming, all the anger. I used to listen to Korn. Sometimes it's a little bit too much screaming and too much anger. I like kind of more chill stuff.
Yeah, I hear you. I think Aaron hears you too. So.
Yeah, I know. Like I don't listen to like hours and hours on end of pure metal, and I think we're listening to one record from band Wasp, which was a concept record, and I commented to my wife how this is a great record because the songs varied from the fast-paced songs to slower songs and quieter songs, and then back to the fast-paced, and it's just, you don't want to hear 9 hours of pure fast metal.
No.
Maybe unless you're running.
Yeah, but That's right. Yeah. That's right. But your wife, Erin, she likes country too.
Oh, she's
right?
into everything, yes.
Yeah. So that's all right.
Well, as you get older, you develop more of appreciation for other styles of music. So when I started teaching guitar, I really started getting more into blues oriented stuff. So
Aaron does that too. Yeah,
and I'm starting to appreciate country more than I used to. I never liked country.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I know. Yeah. So what out of the songs that you released, what's your favorite song to play so far?
Well, there's only one song with a solo in it, okay, and that's "Lift Your Head." That's "Lift Your Head." So. It was a lot of fun writing that solo, and it's a lot of fun playing that solo. So I would say, just for that reason, that makes it the most fun to play.
So what's your reaction with the church? Are you part of a church?
I am part of.
Do they like what? Mm-hmm. Do they like?
That I'm glad you asked that question. So as we talked about how your faith is a journey, it's a lifelong journey. Okay, and there's certain things I've learned, and there's certain kind of convictions and persuasions I've developed in my faith over the past several years. And it was about a year ago when I was really kind of searching for what does music in a worship context look like? What does worship in a church service look like? What did they do back in 2,000 years ago, or even before that? And so I was, I found this guy who played in the ancient Hebrew musical scales. And so he was playing and singing the Psalms in those scales. And I don't know if it was like a harmonic minor or dominant Phrygian, something
like
kind of mysterious
like a scale.
Sounding. It wasn't like,
No, musical scale, Chris.
It wasn't like a an ancient Middle East sound, I guess you could say, And so he actually was playing them in these scales and singing them. He was singing the Psalms in Hebrew and in English. So I thought that was excellent. So I started doing some research on that, and I'm like, well, that's not me. I mean, as much as I appreciate and love that he's doing that, that's not where my area of expertise is. But my journey through that helped me kind of understand, okay, where did it come from? Where did it start? And where is it now? And so I've decided that the church I would like to go to, of course, the very first thing I look at is biblical teaching. Do they have sound, expository, verse by verse Bible teaching? That's what I look for in the teaching. And the church that I found, I didn't want the church to be oriented around a praise and worship band. That, you know, I wasn't where the main focus was the praise and worship. I wasn't looking for that. And so the church I go to, they sing hymns, or we sing, I should say, we sing hymns. And it's a little bit different than what a lot of people are used to now, but people call it old fashioned. So that's the church I go to. We sing hymns. And I've had a relationship with my pastor ever since I started going there, and talked to him the first day. And I told him what I was doing, and he thought it was really interesting. And he actually helped me with lyrics for Lift Your Head. And yeah, so that's why I say kind of Lift Your Head is probably the one that has the most sound doctrine straight from the Bible in it. And so my pastor, I have these T-shirts that say Revelation Signal on the front, and on the back it says Christ will soon arrive. And it has about 20 Bible verses that talk about when Jesus will come back. And I think a lot of people don't realize that Jesus will literally come back. That's my belief. Right. And so I showed this shirt to my pastor, and he said, "Oh, I'll wear that when I'm working out." I'm like, "Really?" I wasn't going to give it. I didn't know. And I'm like, "Here, take it." And so right before the end of the service, he stood up and he said, "Hey guys, we're going to all pray for Tony right now in his music ministry." And that just blew me away. And I was like, wow, this is great. This is a great confirmation, you know, that my church is actually supporting me in this endeavor. Now, I don't think that my music is meant for church services. Let me just put that. I'm not going to go in there Sunday morning and start playing it. Hey, if a church wants to book us for a Friday or Saturday night or an event.
Friday night,
you know,
that's right.
But not for the normal, for the services. That's not what I'm trying to do here.
Wow.
Yeah, your music isn't typically praise and worship, but it is definitely good, solid Christian music. That's for sure.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, that's what
definitely
I'm to do.
Good music.
I want to lay it all out there, be unapologetic. I'm not hiding anything. You know, I'm not trying to be cryptic with my words. It's you really understand what I'm talking about in these songs.
So what was the single that's about to come out? Lift Your Head?
So Lift Your Head will come out in October. But Stand Up is the one. I'm not sure when we're publishing this podcast, but Stand Up is coming out on September 13th. So less than a week from now. And Stand Up is more of the patriotic type song, standing up for our rights, standing up for liberty, you know, and it's a very kind of straightforward song like that.
Yeah, as we speak, Stand Up, or, you know, this podcast might come out right around the same time as Stand Up. Usually takes me a few days to do the editing, and we're going to put a few things in around this interview too, type of thing. So, yeah, so those listening, Stand Up may actually be out right now, and go check it out. And
yes.
You got anything else to ask, Chris?
To everybody, your dog, your cats, everybody.
Chris loves being over the top.
Yeah.
We can't leave them out, you know.
So that sounds good. Do you got anything else to ask there, Chris?
Aaron, you got a question?
I think that pretty much wraps it up. It's been a great talking to you, Tony.
Yeah, very good. We'll have to do it again can we do it again when your other stuff comes out?
Please do. I'd love to. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's Tony from Revelation Signal. Definitely check him out. Great Christian artist who definitely deserves some recognition out there. And we're all about promoting independent guys as well as the big well-known guys. Thanks for being on our show, Tony.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. You guys have some great
Tony.
questions. So.
Taking place of education, imposing social isolation, emotional exploitation. The ruling class are all depraved, bent on evil machination, expecting us to be the slaves, injecting us with vaccination. We all have reason to say our world bows down to a god. you must make a choice. Will you lie down and be silent, or rise up and make some noise? God has given you a voice. Now you must make a choice. Will you lie down and be silent?